particular two, they offered a product that with a little bit higher interest rate than the others. And they succeeded to attract more deposits. We followed in a way. We couldn't pay what they are paying, but again, the clients started to realize that business as usual and things are okay with the foreign banks as well.
Naturally, I would have to go to Mr. Ozalp on this question. Now, like Mr. Muharram said, he said, people feel a little bit more confident when it comes to their deposits in a government owned bank. As in the case of Bank of Alexandria, which was a government-owned bank, it was privatized and sold off to São Paulo, and that was a very well-structured deal, and it went smoothly. The point was, even your bank was actually up for sale, in 2008, and I don't think that you liked the bids that were coming in, but again, you would be the last man standing in terms of the banking perspective of being a national bank. Now, with the crisis hitting, is there a re-strategizing of the idea, of the thought of selling your bank, or now do you see that it is extremely necessary for us to have a bank that is still owned by Egypt?
Well, those are very many questions in one question. Let me start with the last part. Do I see that Banque Misr or National Bank of Egypt will be privatized? I definitely don't think so. Obviously, it's not our decision to make, but not only has the idea of privatizing Banque Misr and National Bank of Egypt, I think, been shoved off or taken off the radar screen, but I think also the situation of the markets today would not include that. Banque du Caire, the intent is still to sell Banque du Caire. Again, is the time now? I don't think so, but I think that it will at some point in time be sold. You mentioned that we didn't like the bid, that's why Banque du Caire was not sold. I take objection to that. I think that the price offered was very attractive. However, there was a committee that set a price, and this price was higher than the price presented. So I don't think it was so much the bid itself as much as it was the process. As concerned the first question you had regarding foreign bank ownership, I think a lot of people don't realize that even though there are many foreign banks in Egypt, that over 40% of the market is Banque Misr and National Bank of Egypt. And if you add some of the other Egyptian banks, Bank al-Ummal, Bank al-Aqari, the Workers' Bank, the Land Bank, or the Real Estate Bank, you probably will reach somewhere around 50%. So yes, there are a lot of names, but an Export Development Bank, etc. So at least 50% of the market is still, quote unquote, Egyptian banks. Although I come back to, or I confirm also what Gamal was saying, that in terms of security or in terms of market, is there really any differentiation today between foreign bank and Egyptian bank? Yes, maybe. It's your decision in terms of service or quality or products, that fine. But I think since the central bank guarantees all deposits, then that takes care of that. Even though, again, I confirm that the psychology is that a public sector bank will yield more security or more comfort than other banks. I don't know if there was a further question that you had that I didn't answer.
You've definitely covered the point there, but I'll just take it a little bit further. When we were talking about banking yesterday with people at Credit Suisse and a nice group of people that were there for the presentation for Lars, we were talking about, again, government intervention in banking. In a sense, what happened was the central bank had to guarantee those deposits because it is all a matter of confidence. I mean, somebody asked yesterday, how could all of a sudden the share price go from 75 points down to 3 points in a blink of an eye when the company itself is performing at at a specific level? And the answer was, it's a matter of confidence. So here are we seeing a shift from the other private-owned banks in terms of deposits? Are we really seeing a significant change in the deposit ratios between the national banks and the private banks?
Again, I don't know what the deposits are with private banks, but I think in Egypt it has been proved. Maybe the promises made outside. I don't want to speak for the Federal Reserve or the central banks of Europe. But in Egypt, it's actually been proven that the banks that have actually gone bankrupt, the central bank has come in and has guaranteed those deposits. If you look at BCCI, I believe Egypt was the only country in the world, and I don't think, maybe there was another country, but I don't think so. I think Egypt was the only country in the world where depositors of BCCI got all their money back. Anywhere else in the world, they lost some part of their money. When you had 4 or 5 banks, Exterior Bank, Bank in Nil or Nile Bank, and others that were actually bankrupt banks where the shareholders or the depositors should have lost their money, the central bank guaranteed or ensured that every penny was. So we're not talking about words, we're not talking about false, we're talking about fact. The Central Bank of Egypt has covered and has come through on guaranteeing every penny that has been deposited in Egyptian banks.
That was a case that happened in what year? It was
BCCI was about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, late 80s. Late 80s. And Miss Exterior and Nile Bank and who else? I mean, some of the weaker banks was 4 years ago.
Thank you very much, which brings me to the question to Mr. Abdel Latif.